Ted Bundy was born in 1946 as Theodore Cowell in Burlington, Vermont. He lived there for 2 months before moving to Philadelphia, due to his grandfather convincing his mother, Louise Cowell, to put young Theodore up for adoption. Once the small family moved to Philadelphia, Bundy, though still named Theodore Cowell at the time, grew up believing that Louise was in fact his sister, not his mother. However, as noted in Anne Rule's biography, The Stranger Beside Me, Bundy had told the author that he'd seen through the pretense. Maybe I just figured out that there couldn't be a 20-year age difference between a brother and a sister, and Louise always took care of me. I just grew up knowing that she was my real mother. Bundy was noted to have odd and disturbing behavior as a child. His aunt later told Vanity Fair, "I remember thinking at the time that I was the only one who thought it was strange. Nobody did anything." This account from her was likely in response to her waking up on at least one occasion to find her toddler nephew positioning knives around her resting body. In the same Vanity Fair article, Dr. Dorothy Lewis, an experienced psychiatrist, gave her opinion that conduct like that would occur only in very seriously traumatized children who have either themselves been the victims of extraordinary abuse or have witnessed extreme violence among family members. As he grew older, Bundy began to resent his mother for his alleged illegitimacy. Even though she provided for him and paid all the bills, Bundy felt unloved because his mother went on to have more children. Although there are varying accounts of how he came to know of his illegitimacy, one detail that stays the same is that it was through his birth certificate, which had the space for father marked as unknown. In 1974, Bundy committed his first confirmed murder, although he is suspected of earlier murders. His first victim was a 21-year-old student by the name of Linda Ann Healy. He had snuck into the basement of her apartment in Seattle, bludgeoning her to death in her sleep. His choice of victims, usually women on their own and independent, became a signature MO, modus operandi. This became very apparent as he continued to kill young, attractive women across the states. Throughout the remainder of 1974, Ted Bundy would continue his killing spree, taking at least 7 more lives throughout Washington and Colorado. In December 1977, Bundy escaped from a jail in Colorado while awaiting a murder trial. A month later, he attacked 4 women on the campus of Florida State University in the Chi Omega sorority house. 2 of them, Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, died from the injuries. He later raped and killed 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his final victim. When Bundy finally confessed to his murders, he described to the police how he would kill young women.
And the young woman walked down. I saw her round the north end of the block into the alley and asked her to help me carry the briefcase. When I reached the car, I knocked her unconscious with the crowbar and I handcuffed her and drove away.
You alive or dead?
Oh, no, she was unconscious, but she was very much alive. Then I again knocked her unconscious and strangled her.
Although, in this video, he was describing the murder of a single woman, his way of going about these murders went similarly. He would usually create a front, often with a sling on his arm or a cast on his leg and crutches. While faking a disability, he'd approach young women on their own in places such as public parking lots for help, and they'd agree, following him to his car, a 1968 model tan Volkswagen, where he'd knock them out and bludgeon or strangle them to death. Occasionally, he'd bring their bodies back to his house and either behead them and adorn his house with their heads, or sleep with their bodies until they were too putrid to stand. In February 1978, he was captured. He was caught driving a stolen vehicle a week after the murder of Leach. His trial was the first fully televised murder trial and quickly became a media sensation. Bundy loved the attention. He acted as one of his own defense attorneys and received letters from love-struck fans, invited journalists to his cell, and even married one of his fans. Bundy also left numerous hints of other murders, likely only to further delay his execution. Bundy was convicted for the murders of Kimberly Leach, Lisa Levy, and Margaret Bowman. He was sentenced to death and died on January 24, 1989 in the electric chair. Although Bundy confessed to 30 murders by the time of his execution, the actual number is sadly unknown. An estimate of his victims is about 40 plus raped and or murdered. Due to Ted Bundy's crimes, the way that law enforcement dealt with future convicts and information about them was changed forever. Before Ted Bundy committed his crimes, federal government agencies like the FBI wouldn't communicate with local police forces, and those forces wouldn't communicate with each other across states, which is one of the reasons Bundy was able to go unapprehended for such a long time. After his execution, the agencies and police forces began to communicate more as they realized the problems this caused. As well as this effect on communication, courthouse security was also changed for the better. Because of the fact that Bundy was a frequent escaper of courthouses, They began to improve security and watch the defendants more closely. Although courthouses can still be escaped from, as they likely always will, it is nice to know that they've improved a lot over the years. Because of the Chi Omega murders, colleges across the country increased security protocols, and college students decades later still see the effects. Before Ted Bundy broke into the sorority house, the doors were often left unlocked unless it was nighttime, which of course to us now is a massive safety concern and obvious error of judgment, but at the time it was quite common for people to leave doors unlocked. For example, in my interview with Laura McLaughlin, a later member of the Chi Omega, she told me how the locks were frequently changed. The combination locks were changed a minimum of once a month, and members weren't allowed to share the combinations with anyone else. She also mentioned that students could ask for an escort around campus, and there was an emergency safety location around campus if they were to ever feel unsafe. Chi Omega sorority even created a house safety officer to ensure that all doors were closed and locked each night, and that the combinations were frequently changed.